Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today as we talk about my UDL story. We're going to be getting to the root of the problem, from faded enthusiasm to authentic learning, transforming student engagement in anatomy and physiology classes using case studies. My name is Kimberly Raymond. Come along on the journey with me. Have you ever watched the spark in your students' eyes slowly fade by week 6 or 7? As an anatomy and physiology instructor, I've watched this cycle repeat semester after semester. Students walk in ready to conquer the world, conquer my class, really get started in their future career goals. And by the end of the class, they're wondering if they're cut out for the field, if this is something that they really want to do. And that right there is where my UDL story begins. My course, Anatomy and Physiology, is notoriously information dense and lecture based. I've asked students, or we're all asking students, to memorize thousands of terms, understanding complex physiological processes, and to master intricate anatomical structures. They tend to memorize everything instead of really understanding the processes. And we ask them to do this all while maintaining motivation to see how it connects to their future career goals. There are things that work in A&P courses. In particular, my students have access to multiple learning resources. They have a textbook, they have recorded lectures, they have PowerPoints, they have interactive homework assignments and worksheets, and hands-on laboratory experiments where they get to interact with the different systems. There are multiple ways that they can access the information. However, even though all of these components work in their favor, it doesn't guarantee student success. I still see students struggling with fundamental questions. Why do we need all of this information? Why is it important? What does it have to do with our future? How will I use this in my career? This disconnect between academic content and real-world application was the barrier that I intended to break down. My goal was to add an active learning component that will bridge this gap. I wanted students to use the material that they're learning and make real-life connections and build deeper understanding. My solution? Case studies. Yeah. We've all seen them. We've all been there. Those page-long, terminology-dense case studies filled with all sorts of medical jargon that leave students more confused, sometimes even us, than enlightened by the end of it. This is absolutely not the case study that I'm going for. Instead, using universal design for learning guidelines, I've created a bank of case studies that are UDL-friendly, approachable, and genuinely engaging. Let me walk you through the UDL principles and how they are used to make student-centered case studies in anatomy and physiology. Starting off with engagement, I used consideration 7.2, optimize relevance, value, and authenticity. I explicitly tell students why they're working with case studies and connect the experience to their career goals. What are they learning and how is it useful as they continue forward? And then another idea is I deliberately remove demographic characteristics. Instead of saying Maria is a 45-year-old Hispanic woman or John is a 72-year-old Caucasian male, the students get to create a case study or a face for their case study. They get to decide who the person is and build an authentic connection that they can almost invest in as they go through this case study. It allows them to really bring about that authenticity and make connections with people in their own lives or maybe even themselves. Next up is representation. I use consideration 1.2, support multiple ways to perceive information. There's a couple things that I do here. I shorten the length of those case studies. You're looking at case studies that are 100 words or less and all very basic terminology. I'm talking 5th grade reading level. I want every student coming into my classroom to have the exact same understanding, no matter what it may be. So everyone being able to read at a 5th grade reading level coming into my course can understand and read this case study. Along with that, each case study is going to include some sort of relevant image, an image, a diagram, an illustration that's going to link directly into that case study. And there's also going to be a little built-in microphone icon at the bottom corner of every case study, so a student can click on it and hear the case study read to them for those auditory learners. Next up is action and expression. I used consideration 5.3, build fluencies with graduated support for practice and performance. What exactly does that boil down to? I'm carefully crafting these strategic scaffolded questions. There are 3 questions that go along with each case study. You start with basic comprehension and build towards higher order thinking. It's like having a built-in tutor built into this case study. Along with that, you have the simplistic words of the case study and then more complex key terms that the students need to know that they can define based upon what they're learning from these case studies. The final result is a complete transformation of your traditional case study experience. What we now use are case studies that are short, approachable, and understandable by all learners, while clearly communicating why this learning matters. Students can easily identify key terms, define them based upon their own growing knowledge base, and follow guided questions that are going to direct their analytical thinking. I encourage you to pause this video and take a look at the case study below. But the real magic happens when students start to make connections. This case study bank allows students to link classroom information with real world scenarios and allows the instructor to choose which case studies they want to talk about in their own class. Suddenly, memorizing cardiovascular system functions isn't just an academic exercise, it's understanding how to help someone having a heart attack. Learning about the integumentary system isn't about passing a test, it's about recognizing skin cancer and getting a patient the help that they need. Since implementing these UDL case studies, and what I hope to continue to see as I continue to integrate them into my course, is that students are no longer passive recipients in their education. They're active participants making authentic connections between coursework and career aspirations. Most importantly, that enthusiasm I see at week 1, I'm hoping it's still there by week 15 as they're able to make these connections. By applying universal design of learning principles, we're creating an inclusive experience that doesn't just accommodate different learning styles. It empowers every student to succeed, to see real-world value in their education. This is what an authentic, engaged learning looks like, and every student deserves to have access to. With that, I thank you for joining me on my UDL journey, and I hope this taught you a little bit about what UDL can really do.